Hi, how are you? I wanted to talk to you about SAD and tell you that SAD is real. SAD is short for Seasonal Affective Disorder. We may call it as well seasonal depression. It's much more easier and it describes the phenomenon better, I think. But this autumn also, I didn't think about it, but suddenly I realized that there has been few weeks that I don't really have the energy to keep my eyes open. I want to put them and keep them closed. I'm drowsy all the time. I don't really have energy to anything. I start to feel depressed. I start to wonder that summer is really gone now and sunlight is gone and it's 8 or 9 months until the next summer. And somehow life would end and all the fun things would end because summer ended. And of course there can be more severe symptoms like feeling of hopelessness and feeling of emptiness. That's the seasonal depression part, that is the depression. So you can really start to see everything grey and hopeless, even if there is no reason for hopelessness, not anymore than was in the summer. Like the reality hasn't changed, but your mind changed. And doctors are not really they don't really know what causes it. There are some studies and guesses. It's the lowering of the serotonin in our brain. It's maybe lack of vitamin D, which I personally do not believe, because there is quite many people in this planet lack of vitamin D and they are not depressed. But I'm not a doctor, so I do not go there. And then there is the regulation of melatonin that keeps our wake cycle and sleep cycle in order. And that seems like the more plausible explanation. Our brain doesn't know it's day, so it doesn't pump us up to day activities. There are few treatments. There are, for example, bright light therapy. So it's basically a lamp that has more than 10,000 lux as the power of the light and 6,000 or 5,000 Kelvin the color of the light. So it mimics quite well sunlight. And I don't know about the difference, but it's said that normal lighting is not the same. So even if you put all your lights on and in the same room, it's not the same. I had this seasonal depression all my life, all my adult life. I do not know about the childhood. It was a mess anyway. So what's to be depressed, and for what reason? And of course there has been a different kind of years in between when I just have pushed through the autumn. There has been so much to do and so much stress that it has overcome the possibility of noticing SAD. And then in some autumns I just have drank coffee excessively and cola drinks because I do not use these energy drinks. There is something sketchy about them. I don't like them. I don't want them in my body. And a few years ago, when this was all happening again, my husband said that you're depressed every autumn. That hello, it's not a big deal. You're depressed and you were last autumn and the autumn before. And then I started to really look into it and studied a little bit and read all the studies that I can find. There is these kind of national archives that you can find very many good studies. I can link some below. And I read about light therapy, which is the number one cure for SAD. And I bought a lamp It's not a expensive one and it's not a big one. It's just like normal paper, and it has the required like 10,000 lux and 6,000 kelvins. So it's this kind of a German manufacturer Bayer that does this kind of medical equipment. So it's from them, and it didn't cost much. If I remember correctly, it was something about 50 or 60. And I really noticed the difference almost immediately. When this, like few weeks ago, I realized that my eyes don't want to be open. I started to put it on my table in the morning. So it's something from a half an hour to an hour. And when I get up in the morning, we have the routine of writing morning pages. So I brush my teeth and wash my face, and then I sit on our library table, and I put the lamp on and I write my morning pages like half an hour. You are not supposed to look through the lamp, of course, because it's too bright for your eyes. It can hurt your eyes, but it's enough that it's close by, and it's like not directly to your eyes, but on some angle. And I noticed it immediately on that day when it was 4 or 5 in the afternoon. My eyes were open still. I didn't have the need to either drink excessively coffee or keep my eyes closed, because I made a decision in this summer that I will like decrease my consumption of caffeine. So I drink one big cup of coffee. So it's one portion, but there is a lot of milk, so it's a big cup in the morning, and that's it. No more caffeine that day, because it's a fool's game to drink caffeine. So, and it's not good for you, or it's not good for me. I know that. So I noticed it immediately, and of course then I did the thing that you shouldn't do, because I was working few days from home, and when I was in my computer, I put the lamp over there, and it was on like 4 or 5 hours, and I felt really good. But then I woke up really early in the morning, like 3 o'clock and 4 o'clock, and it's not good. If you overuse it, you can like develop sleep disturbances, and that doesn't help. Then you are tired in the day, and then the sad is even worse. So I really recommend, if you have these symptoms of seasonal depression in the autumn, to try bright light therapy. So these kind of lamps that are not really expensive, because there are like 600 and 1,000 and that kind of lamps that cost really much. But I don't think that there is much difference. You either have the bright light or you don't. And if it's a big one, then it lights up the whole room, but there is just me. So it's okay to have the small one, and during the summer I can put it in the closet, and it doesn't take space, because that's something that I hate. If you have something big and clumsy, it's very hard to keep them nicely. And if you go for the design lamp, then that costs way too much. And they look like space shuttles or space stations or something from a Star Wars. And I don't like that. But where was I? But yeah, but I recommend you to try that. And then I thought that if I invest in this small lamp, then I know, does it help? And if I later want to buy a bigger lamp, then I know already that it does help. And it's a funny thing. I don't know what it does to our brain in detail, but there has been also studies that it helps in like regular depression. And that's something that I'm interested about, and thought that when I have the energy and time to like really focus on things, focus on my own well-being, I will like continue using it around the year and see if it makes any difference. There are, of course, other treatments. So there is a medication, so serotonin levels can be put up and down, and melatonin can be taken like additional portions. But with serotonin medication, there is always some side effects to most people. And if you compare it to light therapy, that usually doesn't have any side effects if you use it like a small amount, the half an hour or an hour, not anymore. Then it's really foolish to start to play with the medication, because you don't know what else does it do to your body and your brain. And due to many kind of circumstances, I have been quite depressed in the past, and then my therapist and my psychiatrist tried all kind of medications that would suit me, but they didn't. And I got a little bit like really spooked about these drugs that affect to your head, because it was one made me like hungry all the time, and one like I stopped sleeping altogether, and it was horrible. It was horrible. But I would try to light therapy. And then there is, of course, the psychotherapy, which is one thing that is offered to everything, like this cognitive behavioral therapy, that you can like convince yourself or start thinking about more positive things about winter and about darkness. But I find it a little bit disturbing if the seasonal depression is caused by low serotonin levels, low vitamin D, and maybe like melatonin dysfunction. How would therapy like cure that? I don't know if you see the logic, but okay, if the light affects our hormone distribution, then that's fine. I understand that. If you take medication that corrects the balance, I can understand that. But that you try to think positive. It doesn't help me if I try to think positive if I have diabetes. And that's the same logic. And I have seen few articles how Scandinavians like pull through these dark months with positive thinking and eating well, and this Danish hygge thing that you just be at home and cook food and put on candles and stuff like that. But if you ask me, that's bollocks. Of course, there is a possibility that people that live in these like darker areas that are really dark in the autumn time and in the winter time, of course there is possible that there is some genetics. So people that are thriving in here have more children and so forth. So people that are not thriving here, if they are like viable persons, they move out. But otherwise, this kind of staying at home, this hygge thing, it's a nice concept, but it doesn't correct your brain if you're having a seasonal depression. Like really. You can always pretend, like with normal depression, you can always pretend for a while that everything is okay, but if everything is not okay in your head, then it doesn't make it better to cook food and light some candles. So I'm talking about the real seasonal depression, not something that I feel like a little bit oozy, like every other day when autumn comes. And of course there is the possibility that people that have seasonal depression have depression all around the year, but it just gets worse in autumn. And of course you may be able to help yourself with a light therapy, but you have to get to the root cause of the depression. Of course, there are many kind of situations in life that make us more like vulnerable, and we get depressed easier. But then you have to like really get help to the root cause, and just not take care of the symptoms. Although taking care of the symptoms help you the everyday life immediately, and may lead to like positive cycle to get better and better. Of course, there is vast amount of people that do not get affected by this, but many do. And for a very long time, this was seen as an individual problem, so it wasn't like diagnosed this kind of phenomenon, and the thought that maybe I have SAD, and even if I'm a normal person, it's just something that is wired to my brain, and I really can't help that. I just have to be able to live with it and correct it as much as I can. But because of SAD, I have really like been nourishing the idea that at some point we'll be able to live further south these winter months, so I wouldn't develop this every year. But that was the short version of SAD, seasonal affective disorder. If you have any tips of how to get a better mood in these winter months, please comment down below. And do you feel sad in the autumn time? But despite of that, I hope you have a great day, and I see you soon. Goodbye.